Willard, thank you. This morning on Today's Woman, you've heard the expression, no sex please, we're married. Well, it's an old joke, but for millions of husbands and wives, keeping the flames of passion burning is no laughing matter. Apart from the benefits, experts say that a healthy sex life can also be an important sign of a relationship's overall happiness. Today, contributor Dr. Judith Reichman is the author of I'm Not in the Mood, and relationship expert Michele Weiner-Davis is the author of The Sex-Starved Marriage. Good morning to both of you. Thanks for being here.
Good morning.
Such an important topic, obviously, for our healthy relationships. And Michele, let me start with you. How do you define a sexless marriage, and is it more of a widespread problem than we even know of?
Well, the research is telling us that if couples are having sex fewer times than 10 a year, that it is really a sex-starved marriage. But I tend to look at it a slightly different way because, unlike vitamins, there are no daily minimum requirements for a healthy sex life. What happens so often in the couples in my practice is that one spouse is desperately yearning for more physical touch, more closeness, more sex, and the other one is just figuring, it's just sex.
Is that one spouse more of men wanting it more often than women, or does it go both ways?
I'm so glad you're asking that question because we always hear about women not being in the mood. And
right.
It's true
I got a headache.
Right, exactly. And it's true that more women than men complain about that. But I am convinced that low sexual desire in men is America's best kept secret. And when I talk to my colleagues who do sex therapy, they all agree that men feel so much shame about admitting that they're just not in the mood because virility and
is equated with their manliness.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So how much of it is, would you say, physical versus mental, the psychological factors that are involved?
Well, it's definitely inseparable. I mean, all the issues, as I'm sure you're about to hear, they overlap.
I mean, as a person who takes care of the physical problems and talks to couples and women about their actual medical issues, I would say that 75% of the time it is psychological and only 25% of the time, especially in the younger couples, do I find that there's something medical going on.
Well, let's talk about what's happening, because children, obviously a huge factor. Once you have children, well, priorities shift, right? What is happening in that case? Are we seeing more of a change, a transition in the relationship? And Michele, can you start to rekindle the flame?
Well, clearly, children are a big issue. We've become such a child-focused culture that we're running our kids to lessons and all sorts of activities, and the marriage gets put on the back burner. I always tell couples that the very best thing that you can do for your children is to put your marriage first. But there are lots of other relationship issues. So many people tell me when there are underlying resentments and anger, it really stands in the way of feeling close and therefore wanting to be physically close.
Such as when your husband or wife, they're not doing enough around the house,
Absolutely.
You can kind of take that out on the spouse.
Absolutely.
But even in having babies, I mean, there are some physical changes that women go through. For example, when a woman is breastfeeding, and a couple of weeks ago we talked about how really important was to breastfeed, hopefully for a year. During that period of time, there's an increase in the production of something called prolactin, and that's the hormone that lets the milk down. And that actually prevents ovulation, decreases hormones. So here are these young, active women, mothers, and they're having thinning and dryness in the vaginal area that actually leads to what we call atrophic vaginitis, and sex hurts. Well, if something hurts, you don't want to do it. So often the complaint for women who've had babies is, I don't want to do it, it hurts. And then they remember that hurt even after they've stopped breastfeeding. It continues to become a habit, and voila, this couple is no longer having satisfactory sexual relationships.
And what about older couples? I imagine there are more medical issues as well.
Absolutely. As we go through perimenopause and menopause, there are these fluctuating hormones, and let's face it, they affect our brain, our body, our genital organs, and if you have less estrogen, there's less moisture, there's less blood flow into the vagina, so arousal is affected. And then many people talk about testosterone, and that too may go down. And it's not just total testosterone, it's what we call free testosterone, that which is unbound like Samson. And basically we probably need that too for a sexual response. That can change in perimenopause and menopause, and we sometimes talk about how we can address this and what kind of hormones we could possibly use.
And we're going to get to that in a minute.
Yeah, but if a woman comes in and says to me, oh, you know, sex is no good, I'm not having relationships, my marriage sexless, test me.
Right.
And I'll say something like, well, does it become okay when you go away on vacation and you have a romantic evening? And she says yes. Then I'll say, you're wasting your money. We might as well not test. It's not hormonal.
Okay.